Good morning. An old friend of mine said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" when he saw me this morning. "I didn't know you were a Bucky in Kaplan." Well, I want to tell you he's absolutely right. But I want to tell you why I am here. I'm here not because I'm a Bucky in anything. I'm here because I was privileged to be a student of Mordechai Kaplan, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I deserve to be here. I don't know most of you. I wish I did. But I did know Mordechai Kaplan. My father, Alav Shalom, and mom were Orthodox Jews and ardent Zionists. I never went to a public school in my whole life. I went to yeshivot ktanot, Orthodox yeshivas, and I graduated from Yeshiva University as an Orthodox Jew after spending 1 year at the Hebrew University. I hardly remember what happened 10 years ago, let alone 57 years ago. So please excuse me. It was 57 years ago that I took another step in my own self-discovery. I became a student of Dr. Kaplan, and he helped me understand who I was and reinforced the direction of my future. In his book, Judaism as a Civilization, on the first page, the page of dedication, he writes, L'zecher avi mori, Harav Yisrael Kaplan, Naki hadat ve'atzil haruach, שהיה לי לעיניים בטעותי בישימון הספק והמבוכה. In memory of my father, my teacher, Rabbi Yisrael Kaplan, with a clear mind and a noble spirit, he was my eyes as I erred and wandered in the desert of doubt and confusion. My dear friends, I'm still wandering in that desert of doubt and confusion, and as I sit here, I'm more aware, listening and hearing, that I am still in doubt and still in confusion. Nakidat is an expression by Chazal. Sensitive, discerning, careful, judicious, sagacious, Amud Eish. Mordechai Kaplan was exactly that for me. When I first entered his classroom, the first thing I heard were my knees knocking. I was so scared and so intimidated and so frightened that he would say, Spar! I remember his hair, the expression of his eyes, his hands moving and his arms moving in all directions, and his mouth moving in all directions as well. I was intimidated by his manner of speech and amazed by his ability to pierce and embrace who I was and whom I was ultimately to become. When I first met Mordechai Kaplan, I sensed by his words and manner that he was sad. He was very sad at the seminary. He spoke about that sadness frequently in class and outside of class. And because I don't do Lashon Hara, I don't know whether it was him or it was the institution. I don't go there. That's not my business, and I don't have that wisdom. He frequently, in class and in private, spoke of that discomfort and his desire to be elsewhere. But he almost like sang the song, "Tell me where shall I go?" There was no Reconstructionist college at that time. In Talit and Tfilin, I felt the power of his search for that power which makes for salvation. You know what that means? I don't know what it means for you, but I do know what it means for me. And that's what's important. And that's what's so brilliant about Reconstructionist Judaism. Seated in our class was a student by the name of Carl. Carl, together with his wife, drove to Boston to share with their family the great news of their becoming parents. They were in a fatal automobile accident and never made it to Boston. Each one of us at the seminary searched for some answers and direction in coping with our loss. And now is not the time, but to sum it up in one phrase. Kaplan taught me that no one has a monopoly on mourning. Not the Torah and not the Talmud, and no book, and not death and dying, not Kubler-Ross. No one has a monopoly. And I've taken that in my heart as I've gone through my own career and life, having lost a young wife and raising 3 children. It meant a great deal to me personally. We spent a lot of time that semester coping with death and tragedy and the dying of a student in our class, seeking meaningful consolation. To sum it up, Kaplan was the king of Akshonis. It was his point of view. That's where it started, and that's where it ended. He had a subtle and caustic sense of humor. You wouldn't want to be in that sense of humor. Frequently, he was accompanied by students on his walk home from JTS. And about 10 or 12 times, I did that walk with him. And I told my mom that I was going to do that. So my mom correctly said, "Elliot?" I said, "Yeah." She says, "Remember, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you speak." I had the privilege in Jerusalem when he asked me to help him change the library in his home and move the books to a more comfortable and accessible place. What an honor. Not there, not there. That's not where I want it. Okay, all right. All right. What are you doing? What are you doing? He said, "You know what? Maybe you shouldn't do it." I said, whatever you want. It's all right. 2 days I was into that. Then he said, "I want to establish a Sanhedrin." I said, "Okay, I'm in the spirit of Hillel and Shammai and Rav Papa. You can add Spar. I'll become part of your Sanhedrin." But the Sanhedrin was really something important to him. The reestablishment of the Sanhedrin was really important, and he referred to it frequently. And think about what would be now if we had a Sanhedrin instead of Rav Rashi here and a Rav Rashi there, and fighting, and this one's in jail and that one's not in jail. I don't even know. I was a Mosadnik. I went to Mossad for many years. But on many occasions, thank you. On occasions, I had a day off if Shlomo and Rivka agreed to it. Not today, next week you'll get it. Okay. So where did we go very often? We went to a camp called Sejuan. And who was at Camp Sejuan? He was some tennis player. He was some baseball player. Not Kaplan, some other person. But he did throw the ball with kids and young people. He spoke to kids, spoke to young people, made a difference, changed their lives, was strong and powerful. And then chutzpah. I needed to speak to chutzpah, so I said, chutzpah, help me. They say, Elliot, you don't have no trouble with chutzpah. I said, okay. So I went to see Mordechai Kaplan. I said, Rabbi Kaplan, can you install me as a rabbi? He says, sure, I want to do that for you. I said, really? He says, yeah. He says, where are you being installed? He said, how far? I said, it's 2.5 hours drive from New York. It's in Smithtown, New York. He wasn't exactly 50 years old. The congregation was a very tiny congregation. It grew, and then it didn't grow. I've left it in the year 2000. But in 1962, he installed me as a rabbi with humor, sensitivity, with a personal challenge to me and a personal challenge to the congregation that allowed the congregation, without being called a Reconstructionist congregation, because there was no real such thing at that time, to be a Reconstructionist congregation, and for me to be a Reconstructionist rabbi. From that day on, his naki da'at and hatzil ruach allows me to live with my many mistakes and with a lack of bekiut on Reconstructionist Judaism, to continue in my wilderness of doubt and confusion, and yet with a sense of pride, shalom and shalva. Thank you very much.